I'd like to call the meeting to order for our November Faculty Senate meeting. Thank you for being here. I want to recognize Natalie and Amber and Renee as proxies for their colleagues. And I would like to, it's not on? It says it's green. How's that?
No, it's not working.
I'll use my teacher voice. Renee and Natalie and Amber are proxy for their colleagues at our meeting today. They're in conferences, so they were kind enough to have representation for the Faculty Senate today. I'd like to see if there is a nomination, not a nomination, thank you, a motion to accept the minutes from the October meeting.
Okay, that's Hinsdale.
Second, and
Second.
Boris.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We'd like to start with administration reports. Dr. Angle, then Dr. Hale, then Dr. Brown.
Well, for a CIO report of what that search, I don't have any information right now other than we're negotiating with somebody. And I hope to have something by next Monday. We'll see.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me. President Harvey asked me if I could give an update on experiential learning. It was a very timely request because there are two issues related to experiential learning or high-impact educational practices that have begun to converge for us. Two Dean's Council meetings ago, the deans and I began to consider grouping campus activities related to experiential learning into high-impact educational practices and the categories for them that have been identified by the Association of American Colleges and Universities. Most, though not all of those categories are on the handout that I'll start in a few different places so that you can take a look at them. And let me make sure I grab one in case I need it. Thank you. Shortly after we had that discussion, the UT System Office also began to ask the system campuses for data related to their campuses' participation in high-impact educational practices, and they ended up using the same typology. And so moving forward, what we know is that the system campuses will be expected to report such data and the participation of our students, and will be asked to do it periodically. I don't know whether that means annually or whether it means semi-annually yet. That's still to be determined. But importantly, it poses problems of conceptual definitions for each of the campuses, and the campuses have been asked to engage in the process of conceptually and operationally defining each of those categories that are on the handout that's coming around, or that some of you have. And the deans had noted that work related to what sorts of activities might be counted, how much time had to be spent before it would count, and some other issues needed to be resolved related to our commitment to experiential learning or high-impact educational practices before something would meet a graduation requirement. So quite apart from the system's request for information, what was going to help us advance the initiative that we've been discussing now for the better part of the fall semester and how it would count. It's also the case that addressing such issues is critical to the registrar, since he will have to have a way to certify that a graduation requirement has been met. And so we were moving along, I think, at a reasonable pace, and until we got to that part, and then with the systems interjection for data that they wanted us to collect, it's slowed down our progress just a bit. So my update is simply to tell you that work is being done to conceptually and operationally define the high-impact educational practice categories in ways that make sense to our campus and in ways that will make it possible for us to report those data to the system and for us to reach the goal of requiring experiential learning or high-impact educational practices for our students. The work is being done across divisions, so it includes both people in academic affairs who are working on it and in student affairs. The academic requirement will not progress beyond draft definitions without significant opportunities for input from a variety of constituencies. And so the faculty senate or faculty members are not being left behind in the process, but the system has given us a January deadline to at least come up with the definitions that we are hoping to employ so they can begin to compare them across system campuses and things of that sort. So that's sort of where we are. We have not made as much progress by mid-November as I had hoped that we would make. We were making very good progress, I think, until we got asked to report these data, and we began to take the inventories that department heads and deans had provided to us earlier in the process and figure out how they fit in to these ACAU categories and how we might report them to the system. That in turn got the system to slow down because all of the campuses were having some difficulty doing that. So that is my experiential learning report. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have about the process or any related things. Yes?
So my question is, in terms of the categories, are there techniques for assessment and measuring the outcomes, or we're not to that step yet?
Well, certainly AACU doesn't provide those. What happens is they provide the broad categories, and then campuses who decide to use those categories for various reasons have to come up with their own assessment techniques, and we are nowhere close to that yet.
Will they be tied to SACs at all, or will it be independent assessments?
Well, they will, if they are used for us to begin with an experiential learning or high impact practice requirement for our students, then they will certainly be tied to SACs. If not eventually, then certainly, if not immediately, then certainly eventually. But also in advance of our reaffirmation, which is coming. Yes.
Is there work or consideration on making some incentives for faculty to be involved in any or all of these programs?
Well, I think certainly, but again, we're not anywhere close to that point in time. So we certainly haven't ruled that out. We know that we can't succeed with the initiative that we are trying to launch without broad faculty participation because of the amount of student participation that's going to be required. And so we will do what we need to do in order to make sure that our students can meet the requirements that we put in place. President Harvey, thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Brown. And Haynes.
Good evening to you. I think this Senator Ron had requested last time I did the presentation regarding the master planning efforts, we had omitted the classroom and instructional space information. So I did aggregate that up. I want to report that back out to you. We have a handout for you as well. We started the campus master plan in 2000. When we started it, we had approximately 274,000 net assignable square feet of related academic space. 92,842 in classroom space. Laboratory space was 156,405, and instructional support academic space was $25,225. This was in 1999. We rolled forward to 2019, and we've added 32% increase in academic space. So we've paid some attention, some focused attention to instructional space. To aggregate that out, we've added 26,303 in instructional support space, from 156 to 162,000 in laboratory space, and the large one, of course, is in instructional classrooms, from 92,842 to 174,066 square feet. This also includes the new classrooms that we have in the new Lupton Hall. So we paid some focused attention to classrooms and instructional spaces under the prior master plan. Going forward, as we look forward for academic space, we will begin to look at the kinds of classrooms we develop and classroom sizes that will accommodate the projected growth here at the university. How do we infuse instructional technology within those classrooms, looking at flipped classrooms, state-of-the-art instructional spaces, and classrooms of 50 seats or more in certain buildings as we move forward. We've got a couple of major renovations coming up to Hunter Hall. May look at some additional expansion of classroom facilities within that building as well. So I wanted to bring that to you. We're glad to do it. We regret that we did not have that for you at that report. It's a very appropriate request by faculty members that wants to get that data for you. We're going to post this on the website as well. So any questions for you?
Richard, did you say this number here includes the rooms in Lupton?
Yes, the new number in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019. That we have right now.
Okay. Which will be coming online soon.
Yes, absolutely. Any questions? Yes, yes.
You had a trend here, very flat growth in lab space support. So how is that going to be accounted for in the future? Because what's the growth rate that you're projecting over this time?
Well, probably anywhere from 13,000 to 15,000 students at that point, but we're already looking at lab spaces and health sciences facilities and instructional spaces that's going to grow that line. For sure.
So the 13,000 to 15,000 number, that's the number of students enrolled in 2019?
No, not that. No, we're close to about 12,000.
12,000.
These are projected growth numbers, yeah.
What was the number enrolled in 1999? I'm just curious. You wrote it down. You knew I was going to ask you. You didn't write it down.
I'm lying. I'll send you the data.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay.
It was way lower.
Yeah, it was.
Anybody remember off the top of their head? 1999? Unless,
It was like 7,800, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'll get you the exact number. It's right inside. Any other comments? I want to make sure you've had that handout. Please stay tuned and assist us in the master planning efforts. Your thoughts will be great on that. The second item that you wanted me to report on today, Lori Pugh is here. Where's Lori? There she is, Chief Human Resources Officer for the university. I wanted me to talk a little bit about the Voluntary Retirement Incentive Program. And I do have some data that Lori sent me on that in terms of participation. Yeah, I don't. There it is. All right. As of today, this program is a voluntary retirement incentive program. We had approximately 176 faculty and staff who qualified for this program. Of the eligible employees, 49 applications of interest were received by the required October the 15th deadline date. Customized VRP agreement forms were then distributed to all the applicants with a deadline of November the 15th for their return back to HR. A total of 35 signed agreements have been received to date by the deadline. which represents approximately 20% of the eligible population. Of that, the largest number was in academic affairs. I'm told 15, right? Or 15 faculty members and 4 staff. A total of 19 from academic affairs. Administration and finance had 9 staff members. Enrollment and management and student affairs had 4 staff members. Athletics had 1 staff member. UC Foundation had 1 staff member. Vice Chancellor for Research and the Graduate School, 1 staff member. The Office of the Chancellor in IT, 1 staff member, for a total of 36 participants in the program today. And Lori, I think they have a 7-day grace period.
They did, they have 7 days to promote the agreement. The date is executed, which is the date that it was signed. So if they sign and submit by November 15th, is the latest date the verification period has to be this Friday at 5 p.m.
So this data has been submitted to the vice chancellors across the university, and as soon as that period is passed, they'll have an opportunity to begin to look at a transition plan and do some planning for their particular division of how they'll respond. Any other questions? For the most part, for that participation, it's a pretty successful program. It's a nice way of saying thank you to some pretty incredible employees, but it also gives the institution an opportunity to plan for how it wants to reinvest or replace those particular positions. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Brown? Committee reports, Jack, Civic with handbook.
Okay, I can get back to what you do. Not familiar with this, can you help me get back to it?
Yeah, sure.
Well, as we focused earlier in the week with the agenda, after our last meeting when we looked at a non-tenure career ladder policy, we did take a lot of your suggestions and Noah put them into a draft form, and then we met twice, with many emails in between, with Elise Chapman and Lynette Carlson, who are members of the non-tenured track committee. And we had 2 work sessions, and I have to say to the jury that your associate Matt Matthews was extremely supportive and helpful. You know, this was a very positive experience. We all worked together to try to support and do the best and most practical thing for our non-tenured colleagues. And I will have to say, it's a lovely thing to be able to say good experience and handbook in the same sentence. But we worked through a lot of the language. At the end, everybody agreed. We had a unanimous vote of support. Stephanie Curtin, who was here last time, but who is now home with her newborn child, who had driven this process earlier, is supportive. So here's what we have. We distributed it earlier, and pretty much for this draft here, anything highlighted is new language to largely give structure to the general ideas that we had earlier. And again, we're here to support our colleagues and have a practical process, and it was driven by the people who are most directly affected, and we work with them very closely on them. And again, I thank everybody's input. So I was kind of trying to coordinate, so any other members of the committee want to help ask any questions or answer them, feel free. And if we get it, if we take action today, that would enable us to get it to the Board of Trustees by the Thursday, by the February meeting, so we can have this enacted in place to solidify the career ladder for this spring. So it's one procedural thing. Questions?
Could we, who was on the committee? Ron and Noah?
Shelley, Ron, and Noah.
Yeah.
And again, everybody participated, was very active. And again, I cannot thank everybody enough. Noah particularly for taking notes and keeping these things together.
Dr. Hale?
I do have one question for you. First, I want to thank the committee because you'll remember the first time that I met with you all after arriving, there were some issues related to this portion of the handbook that I requested that you take up. And thank you very much for your hard work. The question I have has to do with the intervals for moving between the lecturer ranks. The interval for moving from lecturer to associate lecturer remained as it was at 4 years. The interval for moving from associate to senior lecturer was reduced from 8 years to 6 years. The rationale for the second change was to remain consistent with the RTP process. And I'm wondering if the committee can address for us why being consistent with the RTP process was important at the last rank, but was not important at the first rank.
At the first rank, the idea was quite frankly to give adequate time to assess performance and give people the opportunity to move forward. So that was the priority, is to give them that opportunity rather than having to wait. So that was the rationale.
Are we ready for a vote?
Other questions? Call.
Okay. Call for a question. Those who will do raise of hands. Those in favor of the proposal for the lecturer positions, raise your hand, please. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. You move forward, Jack, to submitting this to the Board of Trustees, where it goes next.
If we pass it, then
Or
I
handle
don't
it.
know where it goes then.
Okay, we'll deal with the next level as it is handled to us. Charlene, comments on the results of shared governance survey that we completed.
So we sent out the shared governance survey, and I just today posted some results on Canvas. We do have a concern about the results because only 10 senators participated. 6 other senators attempted to do the survey, but you didn't finish the survey, so we can't get your results until you submit the survey. So right now we have results at about 33% response rate. I don't know if we want to extend it and encourage you all to submit the 6 that didn't finish it yet, and the other ones who haven't started yet to start it so that we could have more better results. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, if we wanted to extend the deadline or not.
Those who participated, would it be worth extending it for more input? I know it's the end of the semester and y'all are thinking, that's just one more survey.
I think if you
Don't.
only get 30% participation, it's worth getting extending the deadline. You know, ideally, we'd like much over 50%, closer to 30%.
I agree.
I think 33% is just not sufficient.
So I can change the due date, which extends it, and I'll send out a reminder email, and I'd ask you, if you, to go back and check, I can't tell because it's anonymous, so I don't know who submitted and didn't submit, or partially did it but didn't finish it. So you'll have to double check to see if you submitted the survey. If it's open, it means you didn't submit it yet. So if you happen to be one of the 6 that started the survey but maybe didn't hit the right button at the end, please hit that button. It's still open. It's still, they're still counting the days and hours. So if you can hit submit, then it'll go right in. And if you haven't done a survey yet, if you can do the survey, it is anonymous. So I, the computer knows that you did it, but I don't know that. We won't know that. It stays anonymous on our side.
And we'd like more input. I mean, Charlene and I had attended the Tufts, the Tennessee University Faculty Council meeting with other universities, and thought it would be interesting on the drive home that we panned our senators to see the climate for governance, the institution of communication. Where are we a little weak, taking a couple of these topics and being better educated and informed, and the collegiality we can have with administration and they with us.
Just based on the limited results we have right now, I think the most fascinating is when we have questions where it's yes or no, but there are questions where we have splits. So 5 people think yes and 5 people think no. It's really fascinating to see what might be causing a very different answer.
And there's quite a few that we don't know. I mean, if you're new to the Senate, you honestly don't know. So that gives you an opportunity to see.
Right. And we're registering the non-responses. So if you aren't comfortable with answering the question, you skip it and it'll get registered as a non-response. So we had some people that made a comment like, I don't feel like I can judge the president because
the president of the university.
Because I am not in a position to do that. So they skip those questions. So feel free to skip questions if you feel like you're not in a position to answer them.
Yeah. You want to guess on a date?
When would you all like?
Should we just say by the end of the term?
Yeah, I mean,
December 10th?
Yeah.
That's
December 10th,
the last day of
December
exams.
10th, sure, that's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you, Charlene. Faculty concerns. I've been contacting senators by the telephone to your office or going by just to tap into if there is a concern. So if your phone rings at your desk, please answer it. If it's 4198, and I'm not asking you to serve on any committee, I'm just simply saying hello, thank you for your service. So look for that phone call, and then I'm going to try to reach out to committee chair people that if they had any concerns or questions in their activity and contribution. Ron.
I'm not sure if it rises to the level of a concern, but how about surprise? A couple of weeks ago, we received a link to the dashboard that tells us how the UT system schools have progressed regarding number of graduates and their average GPA at the time of graduation. I was kind of surprised at the GPAs. The average GPA at UTC was 3.35 graduates. It just surprised me. It's really strong.
Now, do you recall the link and from where it came?
Oh, you know how I found it just before my meeting? I just searched in my inbox, dashboard. It's the first link that pops up. I think it's data.edu.
Is it the new UT one?
What's that?
Is it the big new UT transparency website? Is that the one? That's the big email we got that they use the system so you can see each campus.
It was just dedicated to the dashboard. I don't think I'm the only one that got it.
No.
There's one on 11/6, UT launches data dashboard to increase transparency.
Oh, November 6th. It was sent.
Came through at 9:36 a.m.
Thank you, Steve. So in between your grading papers, November 6th, that email was sent. So follow up on Ron and join that info. Thank you, Ron. I wanted to bring before you the announcement for UT Promise out of system and what Interim President Boyd is initiating. And then the breakdown on the qualifications for students who are admitting, applying, and then hoping to be admitted. But the UT Promise has stipulations with the family income. They still have to qualify for the HOPE. But this is an extension to help all 4 years students who engage in a 4-year university experience. Any comments or questions about that? Well, Jack mentioned Stephanie Todd, who's been extremely instrumental with Senate and the non-tenure track. She did have her baby daughter, November 26th, I believe. Wait, no. October 26th. It's not a, it's just November 21st right now. But October 26th, their baby girl was born. So maybe she'll get back with us in the spring and be in attendance. She's very dedicated and very involved with our Senate. Hope you enjoy Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. There have been a couple of people asked if we have a Senate meeting in December. Unless you ask me to call for a meeting, we won't. So the next meeting will be January 16th, 2020. We will meet in the Signal Mountain Room. That's upstairs at the top of the steps. An auditorium type of room. Do I get a motion for adjournment? Liz Hathaway and Steve Ray. Thank you. Keep talking to your constituents. Bless you. Hey.